Hello and welcome to all my dear students. I hope you all are doing fine. And today we are going to start with the next lecture of the chapter Microbes in Human Welfare. It is going to be the final lecture of the chapter where you will see more uses of microbes in human welfare. The first topic which we are going to cover today is use of microbes in preparing biogas. You have seen yesterday when I was teaching you the concept of sewage treatment. There you have seen that finally at the last stage of sewage treatment, when we are dumping the sewage water, partially cleaned sewage water in anaerobic sludge digester, then there due to anaerobic conditions, bacteria like methanogens grow, which again decomposes the remaining part of the organic matter and generates certain gases rich in methane, carbon dioxide and hydrogen. This combination of gas is known as biogas, which is utilized further for cooking and lighting purpose. This biogas is a kind of renewable source of energy which is sufficient enough to provide lighting and cooking options in certain villages. That is why two famous organizations of a country, IARI and KVIC, that is Khadi and Industry Village Commission, and Indian Agricultural Research Institute, have tried to establish biogas plants at least in villages where there are many cows and also that collection of gobar. Basically this biogas is also called as gobar gas. The only reason is that the main substrate for generating biogas is the gobar. It is the dung which is produced by these cows and other cattle, as this dung is rich in methanogenic bacteria. So you know methanogens are basically found in the ruminants of the gut, and along with the dung those bacteria also comes out. So already the dung is rich in such methanogens, such bacteria who can perform anaerobic digestion and can release gases from them. So let's try to see that how in villages this whole setup for biogas production is laid down. Okay, so biogas production, first of all you should know that biogas is also known as gobar gas. Now, why it is known as gobar gas? What is the reason behind it? Since it is obtained from the dung of cattle. Since it is obtained from the dung of cattle, as they are rich in bacteria like methanogens, which perform anaerobic respiration. You have seen in our last class, which performs anaerobic respiration. Now these plants automatically will be more successful where the number of cattle are more, and automatically cattle, if you talk about, then they are more in number in comparison to urban area in rural area. So concept of biogas plant establishment is more prone in rural area as compared to urban areas. Correct? Chalo. So now see how it is done basically. So for this, okay, first of all you can write one second point. Biogas is rich in some points you can write. These points are essential, you should know, and then you can understand the concept of the biogas plant. So biogas is rich in methane, carbon dioxide and hydrogen, right? This gas can be used for, this gas, beta, can be used for lighting purpose, cooking purpose, etc. So this gas can be used for lightning and cooking purpose. Now you know in rural areas everybody is not having gas cylinders like they're available in your home. Still in backward rural areas people are cutting down the trees, collecting the logs and burning them for generating or for obtaining heat energy so that they can cook their food, and also for lighting purpose. So in order, that is leading to a large scale deforestation. Now if you want to avoid this deforestation to such rural areas, there should be another alternative, and that another alternative is this biogas. And this concept of biogas now in India is well spread due to the efforts of two organizations, and those two organizations are IARI, that stands for Indian Agricultural Research Institute, plus Khadi and Village Industry Commission. Khadi and Village Industry Commission. So basically these two organizations now are working day and night. They are taking so much of efforts so that in rural area at least people stop cutting trees for generating energy. People are trying to, these organizations are trying to provide people with biogas so that it can become a healthy, a renewable alternative for cooking and lighting purpose. For this, establishment of the plant is necessary. Now that plant consists of basically two containers. First container is where the slurry is. Slurry means the substrate on which anaerobic bacteria has to be fed, and on which they will perform anaerobic respiration. And slurry is rich in sewage plus water, like sewage and dung and everything is mixed. Animal excreta plus sewage is mixed, and along with water it is fed in this container. So this is the first container where the slurry is kept, right? Now this slurry is rich in animal excreta, which is cow dung, plus sewage can also be added, and yes, of course it has to be, water will be then. Sewage means organic matter plus water. Now once this whole thing has, now your simple job is to feed everything, the excreta along with the sewage in this container. Now directly from this container the entire slurry will be moved to another big underground. Acha, whole this plant is underground, beta. Unlike that of sewage treatment plant which is above ground, biogas plant is completely underground. The only reason is because the substrate which is used for the purpose is not healthy. Is not healthy in the sense it is rich in so many bacteria, and if human directly comes in contact with such bacteria, they can develop severe diseases. So in order to avoid the exposure of such bacteria growing in the slurry with human, the entire setup is placed under the ground. Plus it is going to be very smelly, and if it will be above the ground, then automatically that obnoxious smell will spread across the area, and people around this biogas plant will not be able to live. So to avoid such conditions, to avoid the spread of disease and to control obnoxious smell, these biogas plants are basically established underground but not above ground. Correct? So now this entire slurry will move into this big container which is 10 to 15 feet under the ground. It is a huge container. Now here anaerobic conditions are there. Already slurry rich in bacteria, plus due to more anaerobic condition, more methanogen bacteria will start growing, and they will start decomposing the organic matter found in animal excreta and sewage to generate biogas rich in methane, CO2 and hydrogen. Now over this a floating container is placed. Now, suppose because everything is being done underground. Now, how will you analyze that bacteria has developed and they have started the process? So, as the gas manufacture will be done, this floating container will rise up. It will start moving because gases are then going to apply pressure because gases wants to come out. So, they will apply pressure on this floating container. This floating container will slightly start moving upward for you to realize that, okay, the work of anaerobic respiration, the work of the production of biogas has started. And after this, what is done? And from here, their pipe is being attached. The pipe which is going to contain all that gases is going to get collected in this floating container. The floating container will rise up. It is connected with a pipe which is called as outlet, and it is going to carry the biogas to all the nearby settlements to provide them so that they can use for cooking and lighting purpose. Now, once it is done, now whatever waste is remaining, अब जो भी बचा है waste, that will be transported in another tank. Now this will be rich in manure. Now you can use this as fertilizer. So remaining portion of the whatever is left in this big container, that can be used as manure, as fertilizer. So basically, see, the cow dung which is of no use, the sewage which is of no use, see how we have made it of use. Correct? So simply we are producing biogas. Okay, amount of sewage is very less. Animal excreta is very high in this case. And whatever you obtain, you can use it as a fertilizer. So it is a very good concept. It is a very good renewable source of energy. And yes, it is a very good alternative of deforestation. People can use this biogas for cooking and lighting purpose. It will obviously reduce the pressure on the trees. And not only trees, when you burn क्या कहते हैं wood, lot of smoke is generated. So when you are cutting down the trees, you're not only causing damage to the plants, but also you're causing air pollution when you burn those logs. But now when you're using biogas, no deforestation, no air pollution. This biogas is healthy, renewable, and does not cause any kind of air pollution. So that is why it is a very good alternative, and these two organizations are working hard to establish as many as possible biogas plants in the village areas so that people do not suffer or need not to go to the forest and perform deforestation. Correct? Have you all understood this simple concept of biogas plant? Okay, very good. Now next is use of microbes as biocontrol agent. I think yesterday only I was telling you, on my last class only I was telling you, beta, that organic, now see, everybody is running after organic farming. Even when we go to buy vegetables, we always prefer to have organic vegetables. What is the difference between organic vegetables and normal vegetable? Why organic vegetables are costlier as compared to normal vegetable? See, first of all, organic farming simply means that you're not using any kind of chemicals, any kind of insecticides, pesticides, fertilizer, anything of such sort on your field. कोई भी insecticides, pesticides, chemical का बिना use किए you are producing the vegetable. So such vegetables which are free from insecticides and pesticides are automatically will become healthy, and because of which they will be costlier also. Okay, now why farmers use insecticides, pesticides? When farmers also know that it is dangerous for the human life, then are they mad? Why they simply spray these insecticides and pesticides? Why they want to kill the people? The only reason is if they don't use such chemical, then there will be every year there will be 20 to 30% of crop loss due to the infection by these insects and pests. You have seen in strategies chapter that almost every year 20 to 30% of the crop loss takes place. Sometimes this crop loss can even go up to 100%. Now, farmers are also poor. They can't afford that, okay, every year they are putting in so much of hard work and 20 to 30, sometimes even 100% of the crop failure is taking place. Who is going to give them the relief if such thing happens with them? So to overcome that, now farming is done in open land with lots of water and nutrient, giving all the favorable conditions to different pests like fungi, viruses, bacteria, insect to grow on that land. See, on the field there is water, on the field there are nutrient, on the field there is right temperature. So all the conditions are favorable for the growth of insects and pests. If on the field insects and pests grow, then automatically they will shift to the crop, they will switch to crops. And if they switch to the crops, then yes, they are going to damage your crop as well. So farmers, to avoid the crop loss, they start spraying insecticides and pesticides so that such insects and pests, even if they grow on the farm, then they get killed, and yes, your product, your crop is also safe. But the problem is when that crop cuts, it comes in the market and you eat it. So there are high risk that you also intake that part of insecticides and pesticides sprayed to avoid insects and pests. If you consume it, then automatically chemical move in your body, and yes, you will develop some responses against it. Correct? Now, what is the alternative? What is organic farming? Now, you have understood that why the farmers are simply using these insecticides and pesticides simply to control or to avoid the crop loss. Now, there is another method of biocontrol. Like for example, suppose on my field, X insect is growing and it is harmful to my crop. Now, that X insect must be having some predator, right? So I can introduce that predator of X insect on my field so that that X insect population I can control. But such predators should be introduced which do not affect your own crop, right? Like this, you are not harming any of the species, you are maintaining the biodiversity, you are maintaining your crop, and you're also not using any kind of biofertilizer, any kind of insecticides and pesticides. So this is called as method of biocontrol agent. Like for example, lady beetle. You must have seen beetle which is having red and black markings that are introduced in the field to control the population of aphids. Dragonflies are introduced in the field to control the population of mosquitoes. Similarly, a fungus called trichoderma, which richly grows in root ecosystem, they are also known to control number of pathogens. So basically, you are introducing one organism on the field to control the population of another organism. Right? Understood, everyone? Chalo, so let's write it. Microbes as biocontrol agent. Nowadays, organic farming is preferred, which simply means what? Which means no use of any chemical. No use of chemicals like insecticides, pesticides and fertilizer. Right? Now, why the hell do we want to use these insecticides and pesticides? So next point is, use of insecticide and pesticide is only done to avoid crop loss. Insecticides and pesticides is done simply to avoid crop failure. Due to the attack by pathogens. But these chemicals are very harmful. Not only they kill the pathogen, they completely eradicate the population of pathogen from the soil, but also if you consume it, then it is going to create trouble in human body as well. Therefore, natural predation. Therefore, to avoid the use of insecticides and pesticides and parallelly to avoid crop failure, concept of natural predation is used. Therefore, concept of natural predation is used on the field. Concept of natural predation is used on the field. Let's see. What is this concept of natural predation? That means introducing a predator of the harmful insect or pest on the field. So that pest which is harmful for your crop, you don't want to eradicate it. You don't want to kill it completely by using insecticides and pesticides. But parallelly, if you don't do this, then these pests are going to harm your crop. But you also don't want that to happen. So how will you control the population of pest in your field? By simply introducing its predator in right number and at right time. ऐसा ना हो कि this predator not only eradicates the pest from the field, but it also attacks your crop and again you are at a loss. So introduction of predator in the field has to be done very wisely and smartly. Like for example, I have told you, dragonflies are the predator which controls the population of number of mosquitoes, unwanted mosquitoes in the field. Then lady beetle, which is introduced in the field in a wise manner to control the population of aphids. Correct? Then trichoderma is a fungus. These all are the predators and they are the pest. So trichoderma is introduced in the field in order to control different pathogens. Beta, one more example is given in your NCERT, which is of BT cotton. BT. Bacillus thuringiensis. You also study this in your biotech. Well, even more than this, Bacillus thuringiensis, now these spores, this kind of bacteria is used to control the population of pest. Now BT resistant varieties like BT cotton has been introduced in the market, which directly are disease resistant. Now these BT genes, they are isolated and they are provided in the market in the form of sachets. Dried spores के form में BT के sachet आते हैं market में. You can buy, you can mix it in water and you can spray it on the field, which are more prone to, mosquito larvae, butterfly larvae. Now what happens, suppose you have sprayed the BT on your plants. Now what will happen when the plants having BT spray, now if on them the caterpillar, the butterfly caterpillar grows and they consume it, so that toxin, that BT gene, once it enters inside the larva, it gets activated and yes, your insect dies without any effect to your crop. So your crop is also safe, your insect also died, you are happy, you have not used any insecticides or pesticides. So next is dried spores of BT, that is Bacillus thuringiensis, are available in the market? Right? So dried spores of BT are available in the market, which are sprayed on the field and when consumed by the larva of mosquitoes or butterflies, comma, BT as a toxin gets activated in their gut thus killing them, thus simply killing them. Correct? So this much you have to remember for the use of microbes in biocontrol agent. Now last topic of the chapter is microbes as biofertilizer. Now as we were talking about beta organic farming, you have seen organic farming simply means no use of any kind of chemical, be it insecticides, pesticides. So for their alternative, you have seen natural predation method. Now to avoid the use of fertilizer, chemical fertilizer, there is another option of using biofertilizers, fertilizers which are directly made from living organisms, like for example bacteria, fungi, and yes, mainly bacteria and fungi. They are good source of biofertilizers. Bacteria like cyanobacteria, nostoc, anabina, then some algae also who can fix atmospheric nitrogen into ammonia. You know, these nostocs and anabina, bacteria, rhizobium, they have the capacity of converting atmospheric nitrogen into some usable form of nitrogen. Fungus forms mycorrhizal association. The species of the fungus glomus forms mycorrhizal association and they absorb phosphorus from the soil and provide it to the plant directly. Now there are only two main nutrients which plant require for the growth. One is nitrogen, another is phosphorus. That is why all the fertilizers basically they are nitrogen rich or phosphorus rich. Now if you want to provide these two elements directly to the plant, then let your plant root either form mycorrhizal association with fungi so that phosphorus can be provided, or let them form or leave or let the soil be rich in bacteria like anabina and nostoc, which again will make your soil directly rich in nitrogen compounds. So if you do this practice, there will be no need of adding fertilizer, chemical fertilizer. Plus yes, manure can be also added. Right? So what are biofertilizers? To perform organic farming, to perform organic farming, use of fertilizers has to be stopped. Use of chemical fertilizers have to be stopped. And now what is the alternative? Alternative is bacteria and fungi. Alternative to chemical fertilizer is bacteria, like for example rhizobium, nostoc, anabina, oscillatoria, and fungi. Fungi is doing what? Forming mycorrhizal association. And mycorrhiza in mycorrhiza, fungi is responsible for absorbing more and more phosphorus from the soil and directly providing it to the plant. So when fungi is providing phosphorus to the plant, why will you provide it? Why will you add chemical so that you can provide phosphorus to the plant when fungi is doing it? Now, all these bacteria, Rhizobium, Nostoc, Anabaena, Oscillatoria, they are responsible for nitrogen fixation. They themselves in the soil will convert nitrogen into ammonia, into compounds rich in nitrogen. So now soil is rich in nitrogen and phosphorus. So why will you provide it artificially? Why you want to use chemical fertilizers when such organisms, some living organisms can directly help you in this? So people who practice organic farming, they simply follow the method of natural predation so that there can be no use of insecticides and pesticides. Plus, they use the concept of biofertilizers in their field. They make their soil rich in such bacteria and fungi so that naturally their soil can be rich in nitrogen compounds and phosphorus so that chemical fertilizers can be avoided. Products, vegetables and fruit grown from organic farming are absolutely healthy and safe. You can see the reason, as there is no use of unnecessary chemicals, insecticides, pesticides, fertilizer. Everything is done naturally by using the natural living organisms. Right? So these are the roles of microbes. We usually study the bad impact of microbes, but this chapter has helped us to even realize that everything is not bad. Bad thing can also have some good advantage hidden inside it. So why not to only extract the advantage from such things? So microbes are not only harmful, but yes, they are also of great benefit. So if you use smartly these microbes can make your life even easier. So with this, we come to the end of today's lecture. Hope you all have understood and enjoyed this simple, sweet, short chapter. Very important from the point of view of NEET. NEET usually asks questions from the chapters like strategies and microbes. Directly NCERT based question. Lines from NCERT are quoted as questions and then they are asked, giving you 4 marks if you attempt them seriously, if you study them seriously. Hope you all are going to understand it. Till then, thank you everyone. Bye bye everyone. Take care.